software. This is Cory.
Hi, I'm Cory.
You've all met Cory before, honestly. Probably if you've been here at all this month, you've met Cory. So, I mean, you know, he's here as well. He might dip out eventually, depending on how his day is going. So yeah. We'll get to that. But yeah, so today we're going to look at, oh dear, I've got my audio echoing already. That was quick. See, you lied to me, Cory. It didn't have it muted by automatically on my Twitch dashboard.
Because you're not on the Twitch dashboard. You're on Twitch.
I was. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
Whatever, it's fine. Stuff happens. So yeah, we're gonna look at the Chocolatey Ansible Collection today, and we're gonna go through a couple issues, do some quick coding and PRs, and then we'll also have a quick talk about what maintainers look for in a pull request. I've got some pull requests, historic ones, not current ones, to look at. Just to kind of go through and give people a bit of an idea of what we'd be looking for in terms of contributions if you're looking to contribute, and what is likely to be accepted and what's likely to be politely said no to. All right, let me just grab my VM here real quick. Let's see. So this one, I think it is. Yes, lovely. All right, let's start here. So this is the Ansible collection. It's basically a collection of Python stuff and PowerShell scripts that is used to handle the interface between Ansible and Chocolatey itself on the command line. And let's have a quick look through. So there's a couple issues I'm going to have a look at. The first one is just a couple bugs real quick. So we'll go through these and we'll see if we can get them fixed. So this one is module fails to execute. PowerShell version is older than 5. I think this was a pretty straightforward one from memory. Yeah, we're just using a the new operator that doesn't exist till v5, unfortunately, and that's probably entirely my fault because I rewrote a lot of the stuff. So so we busted that. That's fine. We'll get that fixed. So let's see, that's issue 92. So yeah, I guess just a quick run through. We're going to go ahead into VS Code. I've got stuff pulled down, and if I grab this, I will just go ahead and get switch. Create a branch for what issue? What was the issue number for that? That was 92. Okay, perfect. So 92. Quick branch name. Sure. All right. And can I get Zoom to put its controls away, please? That's super annoying. Can I just put them over there somewhere out of the way? Zoom is always in the way. All right. So, have you done much in the Ansible collection, Cory? I don't remember if you've actually done much in here.
I haven't done too much. Mostly, I think the stuff I've done centered around some Vagrant stuff for the testing.
Oh, that's right. Yes, you did. Thank you for that. That was great. Okay, so this is in WinChocolatey. So all of our modules in this one are under like 3 subfolders for Ansible reasons, because Ansible wants things in very specific places. So this is just in a main WinChocolatey one here. This is a PowerShell script. Let me minimize a few things so it's a bit easy to see. Lovely. And let's go look for that new operator here. Just the one, so it's not too hard to fix. Cool. So this will be very straightforward. We're just going to not use it, basically. Just a straight cast instead from an empty array, which is a bit weird, but it will do the trick. And so yeah, literally code change. We're going to go ahead and commit that with git. Let's see, 92 fix remove usage of new. It's compatibility. Is that gonna be too long for my git? No, it's good. All right, cool.
So is the should we also maybe be doing it like search across the PowerShell files to see if there are any other uses of
probably
of that?
I don't think there are, but yeah, that's a good point.
I'm just thinking if it like if it failed early, then it wouldn't necessarily have caught earlier ones.
For sure. Now the only other ones, there are other ones in this repo, but these are in the things that actually run our testing infrastructure and run our actual publish step, which are all going to be running on an Ubuntu client.
Publish collection one is also new line. So environment new line, which is
good point. Yeah, I didn't see that.
So it looks like it is just that one place, but that
Yeah.
is
Yeah, it's a good idea for sure. Because yeah, there could be other like tiny stuff we've missed here and there.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if I'm just gonna actually search for this as well, because I feel like we do this in a few places, and I'm wondering if it turns up anywhere else. There's a packages module in here. What's that? We actually do the correct thing here. Okay. Array cast back to it. So that one's fine. All right.
Well, I wonder if in that case it's in this one it's because it's not an empty array, whereas
yeah,
this one
probably,
we were looking for an empty array, therefore the new made sense.
Yeah, I'm wondering
Maybe.
if. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I'm just wondering if the missing packages add name. Name is passed in from module parameters, and then so hang on a minute. So okay, so if we're forcibly reinstalling it, then we automatically assume it's missing basically until Chocolatey reinstall it. If it's not and it's actually missing, then we'll go ahead and add it to the packages to be installed. Okay. Is there like, do we add to this elsewhere? Like, do we need this listing? Oh, yeah, we do. Okay. Yeah, I think I looked at this a while ago and I was like, I wish I could just like wrap this all in a big array or something and just like drop stuff to it. But I don't think that will work here just because we like try to do this in multiple places and it's just gonna be messy. So, and as you can see, there's like 3 levels of if statements already in here. So I think that's yeah, all right, that's fine. All right, for PowerShell less than V5. Environments maybe. And yeah, so one of the things is you want a relatively clear commit message. Depending on the tooling you're using, this will be a bit different, but most tooling that uses Git has a bit of a line restriction on the first line of your commit, which is usually the subject line. It's like 50-ish characters. It's not super critical. Depends on the project, depends on who's maintaining. Personally, it's just a matter of like consistency. If it's already been done plenty of times, then I'll go ahead and just keep it as consistent as possible. So there are certain things you can do on GitHub specifically and other sites that kind of make that not as important, but I think across most of our repos we generally don't do for example squashing PRs into single commits and things, which you could do, but certain folks don't like that for various reasons. There's a lot of discussion you can get into about Git and merge commits and reverting PRs and all this nonsense, and I honestly don't care enough to have a strong opinion, so I just take whatever is the current sort of pattern in the repo and I just go with it because it doesn't matter that much to me. These people can have their defaults. I don't care.
I think the first line being 50, one of the reasons I've always had it or heard it explained as is mostly for in like the GitHub interface when you're looking at across all of the commits, anything longer than 50, GitHub itself will usually also cut off.
Right. Yeah. It does like a dot, and you can click or hover or something to show the rest of it. So it does not always obvious.
Limiting that first line to that amount prevents it from being truncated.
I suspect it probably came from because Git's an old terminal tool, so it probably came from old terminal width something or other, and then it probably just ended up carried forward for ages. And I guess these days you could maybe make an argument that it's easier to render a web page with it if you have it a certain length, you don't have to worry about it. I don't know if that's a good excuse, but it's probably the one they're going to use if you ask. Anyway, so we'll go ahead and commit this. We'll actually stage first, commit that. Nice and easy, and we'll go ahead and push that up to my fork here on my own one. And once that's pushed up, I can come back over here. So let's just go to pull requests here. And we're going to go ahead. You get this little compare and pull request. GitHub is really nice and friendly. GitLab has similar if you're using anything on that uses GitLab, but I kind of like GitHub's flow a little better. Sometimes in GitLab, you'll have to go to your fork specifically and open it from there. It's kind of painful. Yeah. It's not too bad in GitHub though. And if you have to do it manually, it's a little bit more annoying, but it's not huge. Okay, so as you can see, this PR title actually takes the title of the commit. And then this will it'll also insert the body of the comment and then also any PR template that's in there. So we're going to go through the PR template. There's a whole bunch of text here, like, make sure you read the contributing doc. And if you haven't contributed before, please do at least give it a skim. It's not, some of it's more detailed than you really need, or you might necessarily understand if you're particularly new to this sort of stuff, but it's good sort of surface level information for the most part. But
it's
this
probably
stuff is
also good to read, even if you have contributed to other Chocolatey projects.
True, yeah, because it is going to differ a little bit between different ones, especially because this one is probably one of the more different ones we have, I think, because a lot of other things are C# and various project formats, and this is all completely different.
Python
Python and PowerShell and weird stuff. And yeah, there's a bit of stuff here you can read if you really want. But yeah, for the most part, just make sure you've got a separate branch that you're pushing from, just because it will actually make your life a lot easier in future if you ever contribute more than once. Yeah, I'm not going to get into exactly why. There are plenty of people who can tell you why. It's essentially just, if you do this, you are not going to end up in a situation where like you want to do multiple things and then you have to screw with your branches a whole lot to figure out where your commits are. It's painful.
I did that once. It was a bad time. Never again.
Yeah. I mean, personally, it's like there are certain things we will need to change at some point for this project. Like this one in particular is not technically accurate for this project because I don't care that much, personally, at least. And also it's all PowerShell, and a lot of it is relatively newer formatted, so I don't mind if people reformat some things and like fix it up and stuff. So at some point I'll probably go and update some of the templates just for this project specifically, just to tidy up certain things as I go through this template. You'll see like there's a couple things that just don't even apply to this project. So naming it, yes. There's also, I think I should put an issue in our global templates for that, because that doesn't even make sense. There's just a half sentence in there. I'm not sure where that comes from.
There's something supposed to be before that.
Definitely. I don't know where that went. That's disappeared somewhere in whenever this was copied from where it was. Whoops. But yeah, for the most part, yeah. And remove all comments before submitting. So comments are just anything in these little, these are actually HTML style comments that get embedded in Markdown and will be technically ignored, but we take them out anyway just to make it a bit easier in case someone needs to come and clean things up. So description, I usually do a bullet point list just because it's what I'm used to. You can do a paragraph description if you prefer. Tenses a weird usage of new in Chocolatey. I tend to prefer if you're like, it is a case-by-case basis, but if you're just doing like quick fixes, it's good to be like, did this in this specific file, or this couple files, or this folder, or whatever. If there's a specific like place you're actually touching code. But if it's like a big thing where like I had to add like a feature, it was like, oh, here, and here, then just like, okay, did this across a few things or whatever. You don't have to mention specifically where it is all the time, but if it is just a quick fix and it's in one little file, then it's good to mention, just because it helps maintainers catch like, hey, did you mean to include this other file that you didn't really mention at all? So it can be a little helpful just to kind of double check yourself there. So let's see, Ansible actually supports PowerShell down to v3, and this collection should as well. I'm running yeah, the tricky part with a lot of PowerShell stuff is so many different versions everywhere. And even though your Ansible server might be, probably doesn't even have PowerShell on it because it's Ansible, but maybe it does. Maybe it has like version 7 or whatever. Your clients might still be ancient and you're still managing with Ansible, and good luck to you. It happens. Testing. We're just going to test in CI because this is a pretty small change. It's a tiny change. And also because this is actually running in a VM right now, and I don't really want to try and start up a Vagrant thing inside a VM, which feels like it might get a little bit hairy depending on the setup. Nested virtualization is a bit messy, so.
Yeah,
I'm not going to worry about that right now. But for reference, if I come back to here, there are some instructions. For example, installing stuff. Do I have? I can't remember if I do. I think I do. Yeah, testing development. There's a few things here. This isn't in a lot of detail. There's actually a PR I'll be looking at a bit later to add some more detail to this to make it a little easier to work with, which would be good. But yeah, so this is essentially what you do is you need Ansible installed on your local machine. That can be Windows, that can be Linux, that can be Mac. It has installs for all, I believe. I think if my memory is correct. I'm just trying to remember. It's been a while since I actually looked at the testing stuff for this, but I think you can either run it directly, and I might be misremembering. Windows might not have an Ansible thing like that runs like an Ansible controller that can run on it. But there is a Vagrant file that Cory put together, actually, I think, or at least a lot of it, that we can run things with for testing. This needs some updating, and that's that LDPR I mentioned that I'll look at in a bit.
I think it already existed. I just did some finessing.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like
getting it to work on. I think the image it was using was really out of date.
It was using a weird image or something. It was didn't have everything it needed or something. Yeah. I remember I like threw that together at some point. Maybe it's literally been a long time since I fiddled with it, so I don't have a good memory of exactly what's there. Here's one thing that makes no sense here. This entire repo is PowerShell code. It doesn't matter. Everything is going to check that box. I just remove it honestly because there's
I think this comes from the
Choco,
organization level ones.
Where
it's important for us to note especially on the Choco ones.
Choco is the big one because it's got like mostly C#, and then if you change something in the PowerShell, our build might fail because it's just building the C# things and putting them all together. And then when someone goes to install and run it, it might fail because the power does an error in the PowerShell script, which is rough. So this is issue 92 we're fixing. Lovely. And for anyone who's nowhere, GitHub has this thing where it detects certain keywords in pull requests and issues. And if you say this thing fixes a thing, GitHub will actually automatically go and close that issue after this PR is merged or stuff like that. There's a few that it has. I just use fixes because it's the one I remember. There's a bunch. Okay, so let's see. We'll check that off once we've actually had the thing run, which might take a little bit, but we'll go ahead and submit that. I think we're also going to remove that because we don't do PowerShell v2 compatibility here. We do v3 technically, but we still need to put in infrastructure for properly checking that, I think. But quiet about that. But I think this is good. So we'll go ahead and create the pull request. And what this is going to do, if I scroll down a little bit here, we have some built-in CI that runs. This takes a little bit to run because it's doing a fair bit. It's starting up a couple different Ansible controllers and then a Windows VM that they run against. They can't all run at the same time because it's the same Windows VM to save money, basically. But yeah, so that'll run. It'll do its thing, and we'll revisit that if I remember to later and see if it actually passed, which it should. It was a tiny change. If I screwed something up, well, that's unfortunate, but probably not. Okay, so that's one PR, start to finish. Not too much to cover there really, because that's a really, really tiny fix. But yeah, what else do we have? So that's that one. That's going to be fixed. I'm actually going to maybe tag that from here. Am I not logged in? I don't remember if I'm logged in or not. I am logged in. Is this just not wide enough of a screen? Yeah, there we go. Okay. We'll go minimize our tabs then. That's fine. So we'll go ahead and when you're doing a PR, you won't generally do this. I'm literally just doing this because I am also the maintainer, or one of them, and I'm going to assign myself to it, and I'm going to drop it in review because it's in a PR that needs review. We have a couple maintainers on here. I think it's mainly just me and Josh, although Cory might pop in from time to time if he's got time. But yeah, so you folks won't have to worry about this if you're just trying to do an issue. This is for us to keep track of our own issues here. And I'll actually remove the up for grabs as well because I've got a PR for it. I guess good first issue can go to, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so that issue is good for now. I'm gonna close that tab for now. This one, I have a vague recollection of this one. I don't remember exactly what happened. So task execution failed. Some kind of exception. Cannot index into a null array. Oh, that's fun. tells us nothing, but that's okay. So I think, so you had a host server, you're doing stuff. And this issue, I think, happened, yeah, only on certain remote hosts. So there was a certain like environment on those remote hosts that was screwy. And actually, the issue is not obvious, but it's right here. Hey Cory, you want to tell me what's wrong? Take a guess.
I mean, the error is about not in.
The error is not going to lead you the right way, but does something look wrong to you about that list of packages?
One, there's no chocolatey on the list.
Exactly, that's the one. And it's like hard to really see because like literally, you get this, but there's no chocolatey on the list.
Yeah.
So now normally that probably wouldn't matter. Chocolatey doesn't really care if its package files are there. But in our case,
doesn't. But I imagine Ansible is running Choco list dash local only dash limit output, and then
parsing all that stuff to figure out what's
it includes chocolatey, and then it tries to grab like the first one or something.
And that's why it literally is looking for
indexing it to a null array.
Trying to figure out what version of chocolate is installed basically. Now you could argue like we're doing this a little weirdly and that we're not just grabbing this version number. I don't recall the exact reason why it's using the packages list. What?
I can give you a reason why you don't necessarily want to trust that value. It probably doesn't matter for most users of Chocolatey Ansible, but when you build Chocolatey, depending on build process and tag names and stuff, if you build it, like basically if you build Chocolatey yourself, your Chocolatey version is going to be 1.1 or 1.2.0 dash and then it'll be a hash is what it'll be at the top there, but the package itself will be like dash alpha.
It doesn't have the proper like
stuff. So they like the package version and Chocolatey's stamped version actually differ. Only when you're building it, like
only when
CI
it's like
systems and actual released ones are stamped all properly. But
we go through and overwrite the versions, I think, somewhere in there. That's a good point, actually. So I mean, maybe we're doing the right thing there. It's a bit of an edge case, and most people aren't going to run into it, like you said. But yes, I agree. There's some reasons to do it. What you noted also that this doesn't happen in earlier versions, so this is also one that I broke while I was rewriting things.
Also, having that would allow you to open up a diff between them to see. Depending on how big the changes are, or you could use.
They were big, Cory. I'm sorry to disappoint. They were rather large.
That's why I'm thinking. If you were able to come up with a reasonably quick like test to prove out whether it's working or not, then you could get bisect it potentially.
You could find the exact. I honestly don't know if that would even help in this instance, because while I was doing the rewrites, I would just do like a whole file and then commit that. So you would just be like, it's somewhere in the file.
So you'd find so you find the file at least. I mean, it's better than here's a commit with, or like if it had all been squashed down and then it's like, here's a commit with 37 files changed in it. And it's the one
I wasn't that bad, at least. I wasn't that bad.
Was it 36?
No, it was basically one file per commit, I think I did. And then I did like a first pass of like, this is kind of getting them to be relatively not horrible in style, because they were written like probably half a decade ago or something, probably more than that by now. It's been a few years at least, so possibly a decade. And this was not very great looking code initially. So I went through and I rewrote like all of it. And then I went through and went, we're using the same like 6 commands in like 8 places. So I went and had to pull them out and stuff like that. So I did like 2 or 3 passes through it to get everything kind of tidied up. But so I thought this was gonna happen here, which is because we're doing get Chocolatey package version, looking for Chocolatey, getting Chocolatey. and
that
there's your
0
0.
right there.
So if that is null, you're going to index into a null array. Okay, that makes sense.
You could pipe that to a where object and say select 1, and that'll get you either
like
null,
select first one or something. Yeah.
Or select first one.
Yeah, that's an option for sure.
Or you could just check if it's null before you try to get it.
Yeah, you could check if it's null. There's a couple different ways to fix that. I'll think about that in a minute. Because like the initial thing, I was like, I could just move that line into the try block so that when it throws, it will still be caught and it'll be fine. But yeah, you might be right. Maybe handling the null there is just better.
Then it sets a warning.
Yeah, like it's not supposed to fail here. It's supposed to literally be like, we're trying to check the chocolatey version. If we can't for some reason, it might not work, but it's probably fine. So just keep doing stuff and give you a warning just in case.
So then the warning would, in the case of if you move line 1086 into the try block, that's not necessarily going to give you a.
It's not going to give you a better error for sure. No.
Yeah. Well, it'll give you
a slightly better error, but it's still got the same
it'll be easier to find where that, because you can take the message from the error and look specifically to get directly to here and then realize that, oh well, so version is blank for whatever reason. No,
that makes sense. So yeah, I think I responded back to him and like asked him, and he was like, it looks like it's there. And to be fair, it does look like it's there when you look at the output directly, but technically no. But he's got a few nodes he's managing, and one of them does actually have it, and it does work with this version of the collection. So it's just that I don't even know how you get in that state, honestly, short of manually going and trying to delete your package files for some reason. Because normally when you install Chocolatey, it goes and creates these package files. So I genuinely don't know how he got into this state, but like we sort of said, like it doesn't really technically matter the package files are missing for Chocolatey, because Chocolatey doesn't really care, it'll still run. Its own files are in the right place. It's just kind of reference information for Chocolatey at that point. But it is a weird one, and I just kind of shrug because it doesn't really matter. It's not there, we got to deal with it, unfortunately. So this is issue 90. All right, let's go ahead and get a new branch. I'm going to go back to the master branch first so that I don't copy my comments over from where I don't want. So new branch, 90, index null array. And I usually just pick branch names that are an abbreviation or a shortening or some vague reference to the issue title. Branch names are not particularly important these days. Maybe like 20 plus years ago, they were important because that was kind of the most what you had to go on. But these days, most of the information just goes in the pull request, so I don't really care what the branch name is. Maybe as a just kind of general rule, don't swear in your branch names, probably.
That's just in general. Probably a good idea. Be professional in your branch names, because
be professional. You can be like
there's a very good chance that it's gonna when it's merged, the commit message will become merging branch name into develop. So
that's a good point. It will end up in the commit history. So maybe you want that immortalized, but probably the maintainers don't. So maybe don't do that.
I know for myself, I like to do similar to you with the name and then a brief description of it, so that when I'm looking to write my commit message, all I have to do is look at my branch name to know that, oh, it's issue number 90 that I'm working on.
Exactly. I often have that. I'm like, which branch was the thing for this one? And maybe you can say I should name my branches better, but honestly, it's not enough of a thing. It's easier to number them to keep track of them, because otherwise you end up with like branch titles like this long, and it's just like it doesn't fit on most UIs that trying to display them. So
and then also in the case of where, like, if you're working on multiple issues, flipping back and forth between them, it's easy to see, oh, this is the one that I'm working on for the null array, and the other one is for the new. And not have to remember like the version or the issue number sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay, so this was in packages in our little packages module under our module utils folder. So we're going to go look at that line Line 1086. All right, let's go find that. Line numbers are nice when we have them. Let's see. So module utils packages somewhere in this little helper module. So I think Control G is go to line. I don't use it very often, honestly. There we go. Perfect. Right to the line. Lovely. So yeah, we've got this get chocolatey package version, looking for chocolatey, but we need to handle if it doesn't find it, which is unfortunate. Okay, so you were like, we could do select first. We could. We would still get a null, but I don't think that would matter specifically.
It might actually.
It will just fail the version.
Thinking about providing valuable warning messages.
Yeah, it might be better to provide like a specific warning for that case instead.
It might be better to like store it into like a chocolatey packages variable, then check if that is null, and if it's null, then give a warning that, hey, you don't have chocolatey package installed.
Yeah, that makes sense. Trying to figure the best way to handle with this flow here because it tries to cast a version, so probably just activate if else in the try, outside the try. I'm not sure. Let me just start right now and I'll see. Because yeah, specific warning would be good. Just be like, hey, your chocolatey package files are missing. Maybe rectify that. Maybe do a Choco upgrade just to fix that real quick. Version. Oh yeah, what I wanted to check was if we do end up hitting that version casting here, if I cast null to version, does it error? It doesn't error. It probably just gives me null back, right? Let's see. If I do get type, it should tell me, yeah, so it's still null. Okay. I feel like I've seen typecasts throw when you get null, but maybe that's in C# I'm thinking of. Okay, so that will not throw there. So it won't actually even hit this warning message if we were to fix just this. So yeah, you're right. We should handle this explicitly. Okay. So let's see. Chocolatey package equals this.
When you do module.warn, it doesn't give any, like it doesn't, or yeah, as you said, the point of it is that it should carry on. So so yeah, we could do you could do the module warn early, like before the try catch or the try block, and then even if the try block did warn, you just get 2 consecutive messages anyways as a worst case scenario.
True.
I'm thinking on like if there's an older version of like maybe PowerShell 3 doesn't cast properly or something.
Yeah,
but
possibly.
But you'll
well, yeah, potentially. I wouldn't. That's a thing you have to really dig in to find them. Yeah, shrug. It's probably not worth really going to that level of checking here. Well, and won't change too often, so
yeah.
But yeah, so we got the chocolatey package. First index is the version. Let me go look at this function real quick. I just want to see what it's doing in a minute. Where are you? Here we go. So you take a name in, and you can look for a specific version. We're not here. We're just looking for the. We're not. Right? Hold on. What? Oh, no, that's not the one. Here we go. So this, yeah, we're just looking for the name. Okay, that's fine. So what does this actually output? This gets a results hash table, which then contains an array of version that only has interesting. That's I'm sure I squinted at this real hard when I was rewriting this stuff, because that's a weird thing to be doing. Like, why are you sticking that in an array? That's odd. Because you could just hang on. Package info.
Oh, is it
name? Well, no, we're never adding anything to the array. So it's not like it's going to come back with multiple versions.
If we're possibly running multiple or what is Chocolatey asking for all are we asking Chocolatey for all versions?
We're doing get chocolatey package. We have a version spot that we don't pass in. So if we look at get chocolatey package, there we go. So let's look at get chocolatey package itself. Where are you? There you are. So we take, if we do a version, yeah, we will ask for all versions. So we will get all versions that way. So I'm wondering.
So we're expecting, so we expect that to come back or potentially be an array. So if we only have one, then we put it in as an array. That way
yes.
you can always trust that an array is coming back.
Yep, I think you're right, because we could. Well, I mean, I would be impressed if you managed to install multiple chocolatey versions and have them work at all. But
when doing get chocolatey package, where the package name is chocolatey, but if you were doing it like get chocolatey package for Python.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're gonna do all versions. We do this stuff. We like go and parse it, and then we get a package and a version for everyone. So then, So when we're coming back to actually parse this, then it will potentially be multiple things. So we just wrap it array. Okay, for consistency, sure. I would argue that maybe it should be an empty array, but we're not changing that right now. I don't think it makes sense to screw around with that right now. Okay, so let's go back a bit further. Where were we? Here we go. So we got chocolatey here. It is either null or probably an array with one thing in it. So I think you're right. I think the select object first is a good way there, because at least we've unwrapped the array if we had one. That would be fine. Although honestly, that may not even strictly be necessary. I'm curious. I'm just curious to see what happens if I do that. Let me get a shell up real quick. So if I have a command, right? Function test that just gives me back like a single element array. No, what was it? It was like a hash table where one of the keys was an array. I think it gave me back. So our test key has this thing, right? Which let's just say it has one in it, whatever. Doesn't matter. And then if I do my variable and I call that test function to get that hash table back, then I have in my variable a hash table, right? I think yes. Okay, good. So, and then if I look for the number in it, so if I go there and I pull out the test key, I wonder if that will assign the array or if it will that will unwrap it. It does actually assign the array. Okay, good to know. Good to know. I wasn't sure. Sometimes PowerShell unwraps single element arrays quite quickly, and it's like, why? But good to know. Okay, so yeah, there we go. So we got that'll unwrap it. We've got. I should rename that to be better. Chocolatey package version or something. Yeah. That will get the version. So if we have a version to work with, I think we do this. Because at least it's something to try and cast. And I don't really want to change like the reasoning of why we're expecting an error from the version. Like if there's an error from the version, I want that to be because there was a version and we couldn't convert it, so that it makes sense. But I think in this instance, this will be like I couldn't find the chocolatey package information. Information.
So on line 1089, I'm assuming you want a different variable name there.
Yes, thank you. Head was in the clouds apparently, and that didn't copy properly. There we go. So if we have the version to work with, we will actually just go ahead and okay, Windows. That's not necessary. We want that one. So we'll cast that to our actual version, and yeah, I think that's all we really need there. Yeah, I think that's probably a better choice. Do we use this actual version anywhere else before this, just to make sure? I don't think so, right? Yeah, it doesn't look like it. All right, cool. Wait, a little further just to make absolutely sure. Yeah, this is all. I think it's actually installing Chocolatey if we don't have it. Yeah, okay, cool. So that's not going to use it. Lovely. All right, so we've got our actual version here. This will be carried forward as either the version number or null. We do need to set that in here, so actual version equals null. We need to make sure we do that because otherwise well, it technically doesn't matter. Non-existent variables are null in PowerShell. It doesn't have like, couldn't find that variable. Okay, please don't do that. I mess up my hotkeys from time to time because I have the control and command key overlapped on my keyboard. So fun.
Oh, I was going to ask if you just tried to go to the end of the line, Mac OS style.
I was trying to
because I do that a lot.
I think I might have been actually. Yeah, that's usually where I trip up. Yeah. But yeah, so we're gonna set that to null. Before we do that, we're gonna do a warning. So our warning in this case is gonna be, let's see. Did not find chocolatey package version information.
How do you see? This is the interesting part for me because I'm looking at it thinking, how do you did not find chocolatey package version information? It doesn't necessarily describe that it's the chocolatey package.
Well, we have a package name we can refer to, I think. Let me see. Let me see what that is. So we're trying to pass in. No,
in this case, we explicitly were looking for it.
Right.
What if we were to say did not find version information for package ID chocolatey?
Or that's fair. Yeah, package ID chocolatey, and then I can do another line. It's like something else. Hold on, chocolatey. And then we do something like unable to determine the client installed chocolatey version. And then we'll like copy like this bit. Module may not work correctly. And then we'll leave it at that, something like that, so that it's got a little bit of like, this is what we were looking for, this is what we didn't find, and it might not work right, but it's possibly okay. So you might be able to ignore it depending, but there's no way for us to really know that. We could then look to like do a fallback and try and parse like the chocolatey assembly version from the output, but also that doesn't seem like a good idea. And it's probably more work than it's worth, I think. So it's probably not worth doing. So we'll just do that, and then we'll do the module.warn warning here as well. And that will just get echoed back by Ansible, and we won't have to worry about it. But yeah, this way they won't get two warnings because it won't really mean anything for them to get this warning as well, I don't think, in this case. So I think that's good. It does feel a bit like there's duplicate stuff going on. I don't really like that. But I don't know if there's a ton for us to do about that. Could just assign the warning and do the warning. We're going to move like one line if we do that, so I think that's okay.
Yeah, that's the thing is like the duplication
like
right
tiny.
Now is basically just module.warn and actual version equals null. And
true.
To remove that duplication, you have to put in an F block and
yeah, it's a little bit, but it's not really a ton. So I think it's
you go from 4 lines down to 3 lines.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well,
and but in those 3 lines, I think you end up with more complicated program flow.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. You're going to end up like confusing people with what you're trying to do. So yeah. I think I agree with that. Yeah, but I think that's all it really
how
is.
Do you
we just need to handle that. So.
Or PowerShell scoping, the warning would escape. Like, would the warning assigned in that catch is available after the if block, right?
Yes. Yeah. PowerShell scooping is loose as heck, and if and else and try and catch don't have their own scoops, which is maybe
simultaneously
a little more intuitive
good
for
and
some
bad.
people. But yeah, but not expected for people who like are very used to certain languages who are like, oh, this might be a different scoop or whatever. Or like, I think C# is definitely one where if you
therefore I'm in a new
exactly
scope.
Yeah, like every set of braces is a new scoop, and like it sometimes isn't PowerShell. And sometimes a set of braces is like code that doesn't even run until later. So it's like, well, yeah, the rules are a bit loose here sometimes. So that's okay. But I think that's good. This is issue 90. So glad I had that in my branch name because I'd already forgotten.
Yeah.
Okay. Avoid indexing, null array. If the Chocolatey package files are missing from the client machine, you will not be able to determine the version. Ensure we handle the null case here and emit a useful warning. Somewhat useful warning. It doesn't give them much to do. Do you think it's worth us being like, oh, you should do like a Choco upgrade or something like that, just to?
I mean,
I'm tempted to say we could, because we could do like a we may be able to rectify this by upgrading or reinstalling something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. How many columns across is this? It's column 88. What's our column restriction on this project? I don't like that I have to remember that, but there is one somewhere. I want to say that might be too long.
That'll be like an Ansible thing, isn't it?
It's a thing they enforce with PS Script Analyzer, I think. Yeah, it's super annoying. I'm trying to remember if there's like documented anywhere or I can pull it out. Line numbers, not line numbers, line lengths is, I don't remember if that's PowerShell Script Analyzer or if that's something they enforce like separately. I don't know. Well, I think actually if it fails, it'll fail in CI, so that will be okay. And we'll see that. We can do a quick fix. And that's fine. I don't mind doing a little fix just to like break that line or something or other. I think, well, no, yeah, this is longer. This is 104, so maybe it's 120 because this one was already here. So yeah, I think it might be 120 then. There's definitely like a column limit on the PowerShell files here for reasons. I think actually well, I'm not sure if it's a default PSSA rule, but it's definitely the default for Ansible. So yeah, and I don't want to deal with turning all their default rules off. It's just pain. I do wish they had like a configurable thing you could like add a configuration file, but I don't think there will. It might be worth looking into later, like if we add a configuration file to the like default place or whatever in the collection, if it will respect it. But I also don't necessarily want to ship like the module itself with that file, and I think we would need to for it to actually respect it. So maybe, yeah, I feel like that they just need to provide some more configurability. I think I looked up like their PSSA thing because it runs as like a specific linting step for them, and like they have a doc page for it, and the doc page is empty last I checked. So there is no information on what you can do with it.
PS avoid long lines. Line exceeds the configured maximum length of 160 characters.
Is it 160 by default? Interesting.
Well, whether that's default or that's what they set it to.
True. Yeah.
This was issue 78.
Oh, it was. We put an issue for it. Cool. Okay. I mean, 160 is pretty lenient, so I'm not too worried about it. But yeah. It's. I'm more. I didn't remember we had any lines that long because that is quite a long line. Like that's got to be like way out here somewhere that there was a line there. Wow. Yeah, but that's why we do this weird warning thing where we have an array and then we join it, because if we put all this on one line, Ansible would yell at us.
There were at least 1, 2, 3 long lines that they apparently found.
Okay.
And they ran
a couple though. It's not too bad.
So
yeah, it's fine. And just in general with like commit messages too, like usually I'll have summary and then I'll like kind of explain like why this thing was a problem or like what was going on. Sometimes if like there's a important enough issue that like, hey, we need to really avoid this in future, it'll be like, you know, kind of explain that a bit, and then like what you actually kind of a summary of what you did to fix the thing. But yeah, so that's that. We'll go ahead and stage that, go ahead and commit that, and push that up to my branch again, or my fork or whatever. Yeah, fork and branch, I guess. Okay. So that's that. Let me check what tags are on this issue. So we're going to go ahead and assign myself to it again because is me, and I do that. I'll go ahead and check this in review because I'll have a PR up in a second, and we'll take off these two. Yeah, so nice localized fix. That's good. All right, so then pull requests. Hello. There we go. Bring that up. Avoid indexing null array. Now I should be tagging people for review too. I don't actually remember if other people can manually, or if we have a code owners file in this repo. I don't recall, to be honest, but I do keep a fairly careful eye on this, so I'll usually see if somebody submits a PR.
Yeah, I don't think any.
I should put a code owners file in here somewhere at some point, but. So
yeah.
At some point, we'll have some metadata in here, so GitHub will know like, oh, we should be tagging this person because you've modified a file that they're supposed to be responsible for or something. Yeah, but yeah. So go ahead and I will actually probably tag. Is Josh in here somewhere? Windows, that's his name. Yeah, we'll tag Josh and he can review this one at some point. So let's copy our little description because I would like that to be in the PR here. With our big block of comments. Okay, so what I often find, this is just a thing for me really, is the way that I tend to write comment messages here, it tends to fit better here, just because it contains some explanation. And then I just like quickly summarize. Yeah. Like very short.
I find a lot of, for myself, when I'm typing out the description of changes, I'll be like I'll put something along the lines of output headers when limiting output because this makes PowerShell stuff easier. And then I realize, after I type it all out, I realize, oh, you want to know the motivation, and I should actually be putting that in the other section.
Yeah. There is a case to be made here. We could potentially add a test for this. I hesitate to do so because in this case, what you would have to do to test this, right, is you would have to deliberately delete package files from the VM manually. Well, not manually. Like you could do it with like Ansible's file handlers. I think you can like delete a folder or something. But if you do that, then you have to put them back before the next test run, which is running a slightly different Ansible version, gets them. And I don't like that. I really don't. Is it doable? Yes, kinda. Well, I mean, arguably no, because you could. I think. Would that work? That would so I'm thinking like if you nuked them, right, and then you went and did as your like test case to see this should still work, you could do install Chocolatey, right, which should then restore the package files, and if the run succeeds, you can say this bug is fixed because it didn't fail to determine Chocolatey version while it was trying to, well, it did, but it, you know. I might leave this one as TBD for the time being because that might be worth doing, but I don't have a like solid idea in my head of how that would really go. Right. Let's have a quick look, but I don't know if it's going to be something we can do right now because I feel like it's going to need a bit of fiddling. So let's see, where's our test cases? So this would have to be in WinChocolatey because that's where we're running this from. So we'd have to do something like this, basically. but we'd have to know exactly where Chocolatey is installed to do that. Which we could, arguably. I don't know if that's the best thing to do. I don't like it. I don't like that, like, doing the test means you have to manually screw with the files, because you arguably shouldn't be getting into that state, but I guess it's good to make sure we handle it. So maybe we could do it real quick just to see if it works. So if you were to do this, you would don't know if this would work. Maybe. I'm not sure. If we did, we would just have, let's see. So we would go into this would use the default one here because that's where we install things for this test client. And we would just delete this folder with state absent. Classic Ansible stuff. You tell it the folder should be absent, it will make sure it is. Oh, this is too far indented too. Okay, so then if I do that, and then I should just be able to do something like this. Name, install Chocolatey. If I could spell correctly, that would be good. Install Chocolatey. And so yeah, all these tests are just set up as like Ansible, like a long list of Ansible tasks that then, you know, check for certain things happening or not. So this one should be state present, and we just do name Chocolatey. Sure. And we don't worry about any other configuration because the default should be fine. And I need to, and I think at this point I want to register a value to check. So actually, can I do, let's make that state latest just in case. We'll just say upgrade Chocolatey. In fact, we'll use state upgrade in this. Why not? State upgrade, same deal. State upgrade. And then we register a value that's like, what do we do? Like upgrade Chocolatey again. Sure. And then we have our assertion. Assert. Assert. One succeeded. Thanks, Serena. Don't forget your spaces, kids. YAML's very sensitive. And then, okay, so yeah, you can assert run succeeded. I'm gonna have to reference other stuff because I don't remember how this test syntax goes. It's been so long. Register this, do that, assert that this. You can assert that something has changed. I'm remembering if there's an assert that something succeeded. I think there is. Or actually, I don't think you need to assert. I think if it fails, it will just fail the test. Pretty sure. Register this, do that. Yeah, I think that's okay. So I think we'll actually be all right without even registering it, because yeah, if any of the test tasks fail, they just fails the test. Yeah. I'm sure we can still upgrade packages with Chocolatey package files missing, maybe. 83, we're fine. All right, so I think that would actually do it for tests even. Yeah, just delete the file. I'm just gonna verify that's the correct folder to be deleting because I'm pretty sure it is. But let's see, so C, program data, Chocolatey. If I could do my tab completion correctly. No, okay, cool. In fact, we're gonna do this way instead. Thanks. So we're gonna go in here. So this is C program data chocolatey. Yep, perfect. In the lib folder, then chocolatey should just have the package file here that it was installed from. Okay, so that would be fine for us to go deleting. Wouldn't break anything in chocolatey itself. It would just not show the list in your local only output anymore, which is fine. Okay. All right, so I'll go ahead and commit that then. So 90, add test.
Just to be sure, it might actually contain a chocolatey.newspec and a chocolatey or in a tools directory. I think
like
if it's been upgraded.
The unpacked files there. Yeah, that makes sense. That's okay. I don't think any of those are necessary.
I think if you just do a regular like install chocolatey with the install script, then you just get the nupkegs there. But if they then if you later do a Choco upgrade and it does upgrade, then you get the full unpacked files.
Okay.
It looks like, because that's what I have on my VM.
Yeah, there you go. Fair enough. Okay. So yeah, testing by deliberately making chocolatey package information. Removing. And then attempting. It's too many characters. So yeah, VS Code will tell you there's too many characters here. What are you doing? But you can ignore that. It doesn't really matter so much when you're past the first line or whatever. Most people are not going to care, to be honest, because it's just going to split the lines anyway. So shrug. But I don't know. I see a warning. I fix it. Attempting to upgrade chocolatey to restored package files. So that should work in theory, unless there's some weird thing about the testing environment I haven't thought of, but I'm pretty sure that should work. I need to rename that though, actually. Remove chocolatey package directory. Yeah, I think that's okay. So we'll go ahead and commit that and push that up to our PR. And because we're on the same branch, it's just going to go directly into the same PR that we would have opened. Not even finished opening it yet, but we'll get that. So there you go. Testing, added test to ensure if anyone has nodes in the state that it this works. That installs upgrades still work as expected. And because chocolatey is installed, even though the package files are missing, it will still be able to do the normal Choco upgrade. It won't just do the bootstrap, which is good because that's important for how that test is going to have to work. Because there's two ways it will install chocolatey. One of them is actually, now that I'm saying that, I'm going to double check that because I think it does stuff specifically if you're trying to install chocolatey. And I'm wondering, does it bypass the normal package install if you're doing chocolatey? I don't remember. Let's go looking. Okay, so when chocolatey, you're doing, okay, so this is the initial stuff, package info, chocolate command. So before you even start, we make sure chocolate is installed. Before it even looks for packages, it has to ensure chocolate is installed. So at that point, let's look for the installed chocolatey command in here. Nope. Thank you. Trying to control F here, please. Thank you. Install chocolatey. Yeah, I know that's there. Not that one. Not that one. This one. So in here, what it will do is it just does a quick get chocolatey command. Okay, so that's fine. It doesn't care. It just goes, all right, whatever. And we do pass things in, I think, here, in case we wanted to install chocolatey with this, I believe. But I don't think, let me just go back a few just to make sure when this happens. Wait, where was it? In here. In here, chocolate command, if chocolatey is set Then we select a version, skip warning, bootstrap. Okay, so we can install Chocolatey at this point. But my understanding, if it is already installed, is it should skip the install at that point because it's already installed. This is just making sure we have Chocolatey available to use, I believe. Yeah, I think so. Yep. Okay, good. So this should be fine because all of this is predicated on, do we have Chocolatey like already available? And if we do, then we skip all of this bootstrapping stuff, which is good. Okay. So if we have a Chocolatey command available, we skip all that and we'll go through the normal process, which is what I want. Okay, so good. So this should work, I think. We'll find out when the CI runs. Running tests in CI. And in most cases for small things, I don't mind just running tests in CI. If it's a larger change, then I'll want to like spin up the Vagrant image and do local testing on it to be sure that things work as expected. But for this, where I can be like, okay, this is a fairly constrained test case where it's like this one thing is wrong on this VM, we can make that thing wrong basically, and then just have the tests do that. So it should be okay. So bug fix. Again, deleting that because everything in this repo is PowerShell. It doesn't mean anything. And there I go, trying to go to the end of the line again with Mac shortcuts. Oh, Mac. Okay. Issue number 90 here. Lovely. We don't need update documentation. We haven't updated any documentation because this was just a bug. We have added a test. Yay. We'll check off the next one if it does pass. There we go. And remove comments. Yes, thank you very much. I think that's all we need here. Okay. As a pull request, we'll have to see how that goes. Where's the other one here? There we go. So I'll put that up here in my little stuff we've done. I don't think that has, yeah, so that's currently in progress. That's gonna sit and wait and do what it does. It looks like it's already passed one set of tests, so probably all of those will pass unless there's some real weirdness in one of the later Ansible versions, but I don't think so. I'll have to see what the actual latest version of Ansible Core is because it was 2.13, I think, last I checked, but that was a handful of months ago. There's probably a newer one we should be checking as well. And at some point, I think we already dropped 2.9. No, we still have 2.9. So 2.9, 2.10. At some point, we'll probably be dropping testing for 2.9 just because it's quite old now, actually. We just want to test like the most recent 4 or 5 or whatever. So that might go away eventually, but yeah. Okay, yeah, so there's a couple sort of PRs start to finish. We're not done yet because we have to run through CI tests, but that is basically the bulk of the code. They're done. There is a review you'll have to run through. And actually, sort of to transition a little bit, I'm going to jump over to a older PR that I'm going to actually update because it's been languishing for a bit, but I do want the stuff that's in it. And I'm sure this person just hasn't really had time to come back to it and do the rebasing and all that nonsense that we need them to do. So I'm just going to have a look at it and see. So this is the one where what's his name? Mikiel. So Mikiel had a couple PRs. He actually fixed a bug, and I'll show off one of his other PRs in a little bit, just to kind of go through and show you what a really good PR is like, because he's done some great PRs in this repo. And this one was sort of an afterthought, really. This was a, hey, this is what I had to do to get the actual tests running on my specific Linux setup where it was running before. And I know, Cory, you fixed up a thing with a Vagrant file for a thing, and then he also, I think, had to make some changes there too. So I've got to actually have a look at this and see what parts need to get merged in and split off and all the fun stuff. So I don't have a Fedora 36 laptop to check on. So I'm going to be very careful with anything I do change. I'm going to be very, very cautious because I don't want to actually break what he's done, because it looks like it was a fair bit of work to get it working. So let's see. Right, this was the Ubuntu box thing. Apparently he got it working without the Ubuntu box you used, Cory. I don't know how, because my understanding was it was completely busted and it looked like it was. So, but both ran fine. So your changes are fine on top of his, it looks like. So there's two things. So first of all, I'm going to actually check out this guy's branch, if I remember how to do that. It's been a minute. I think I just add his remote, don't I? So let me open this in a new tab.
Do you have the GitHub? Or actually,
I could do that, but I'm gonna need to push back to this branch. Oh, you're saying like the GH command line tool? I don't think I have it on this VM.
So that's the thing, is you can't actually check out his branch. If you go back to the pull request though, so in GitHub, in order to push back to their branch, you have to check it out from the branch, or from the
repo that it came from. Yes,
from the repo that has the, like, that you have the contributor to. So the Chocolatey Ansible. If you go to that code drop down in the top right there,
code, yes. Oh, there you go. Look at that.
So that's how to do it. That's how to do it there, which only works if you have the GH command line installed.
I can probably install that real quick.
There is also
do you know what the chocolatey package for this? Because I know there is one.
It's just GH.
Is it just GH?
Yeah.
Okay. I was worried it was like GH CLI or something.
No. So the one thing will be that when you try to use it, it will require authentication, but
that's fine. I'm already logged.
You're already signed into GitHub, so it should just open your default browser and do
in
all
theory
that stuff
it should just work. TM. But yeah, so this PR is like a while old, I think, like June 29th. So we're now October, June, July, well, end of June. So July, August, September, it's like 4 months old. And wouldn't have really wanted to leave it this long, would have preferred to get it sorted, but they haven't really had time to come back and look at the few things they want to fix up. It needs a rebase. I've got to make sure that it merges okay with Cory's other changes. So I'm gonna just kind of do the final cleanup here before I merge it, because this is all essentially local testing stuff. It's not going to break anything in the module itself. It's just fixing up things so that people can test it on a wider variety of machines, essentially. So let me quickly look. So this is going to use, I'm not sure about that actually. I'm gonna have to look up what that change does exactly and if that might break anything, but I don't think it should. Does cred SSP work on well, it's going to be between Linux and Windows anyway, isn't it?
So
because the Ansible server is always going to be
newer.
Yeah, true. But then also we're ignoring the cert validation, so it should be fine, I believe, right? Yes. Oh, he put a different box in here as well, but also he said yours is fine, so I'll probably take the one you put in before, Cory. Okay.
Well, based on the comment that you put there, it looks like maybe
this one.
Like that it starts Windows Update when Vagrant's still running.
That makes sense.
To be fair, I've seen that sometimes, and in fact, one of my VMs that's based off of Stefan's Windows 10 is like it installed a cumulative update, even though I was sure Windows updates were turned off on the VMs.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that might have also been a transient thing, because he would be using, say, Stefan's Vagrant box, and then Microsoft release updates, and then before Stefan goes and updates the box again, then it just installs the updates, because Windows 10 can be like that.
Very true. Yeah, so interesting. I don't know about like where that box came from though, so I'm not sure we want to necessarily take that one specifically, but it might be worth looking at getting a more consistent box later.
I know Gustav's are ones that I've had people suggest in the past as well.
Okay,
so
right, that's good.
It's kind of a Stefan and Gustav. Oh,
I see. He actually manually
a reason for using Stefan over Gustav's Vagrant boxes is that Gustav's has Chocolatey pre-installed on them.
Yeah, that
which is really helpful, except for in our testing scenarios where we explicitly don't want Chocolatey.
Is that helpful for? Yeah, no, you're right. Even local testing, we really don't want that, because that would kind of muddy the waters with what we're testing and making sure the bootstrapping works. In CI, it doesn't matter when we're not using this box in CI. We're using basically a completely clean Windows VM there that just gets started up in Azure, so it doesn't matter as much. But yeah, I could definitely see an argument for maybe we shouldn't have Chocolatey pre-installed on our test machines just because that. Okay, so this code looks fine. It looks like he's got some manual scripting in here just to pull the code down from Ansible that sets up cred SSP so it works more consistently than I guess the NTLM did, because I'm guessing not all Linux distros support NTLM properly, which is understandable. I think it's pretty sure it came from like Windows initially or something, or at the very least it's pretty old. So yeah, it makes sense. There's going to be Linux stuff that's not going to work there, and since this is Ansible centric, I think this change makes some sense. And it's nice that it's just a pretty quick grab this script and run it, so that's nice. Yeah, interesting. Use script block create. Yeah, sure, that works. Most people just say who cares and just use like invoke expression because like, no, we'll do this, and all right, sure, they both work. They're about the same, really. Okay, so that's fine. I think those changes all look fine.
Or is he doing that because that's the style that was already like a couple lines below?
Maybe. Oh,
Line
you're right. Yeah.
there.
He just copied the style we already had in here, and that might have been something I did at some point. So God knows. Yeah.
And
that's
or someone did
point actually, because it's a lot easier to say yes to a PR if you don't have to push back and be like, hey, we use this style for this thing. Could you do this as well?
Yeah.
If like you already kind of like just have a little bit of a look around, like if you're doing something that is similar to what's already in the repo, or like if you're doing something that accomplishes the same task and you're doing it a bit differently, it's usually a good idea to copy the style that's in the repo, because then they don't have to be like, hey, this is the style we use. Can you change it now? Like, you know, a couple of weeks after you've submitted the PR because they haven't had time to look at it or whatever. So if you just have a bit of a look around and copy the style that's there, if it's just a style thing, people will generally be much more inclined to be like, yeah, that's perfect, because that's literally what I would have asked for anyway. And it saves everybody a lot of time, honestly. So yeah, we'll go with that. This is just README updates then. So table of contents updated, good. Some examples updated. So you're doing, oh, what's different here? Inventory. Okay, you're explicitly specifying the inventory path, which is fine. I don't think it makes much of a difference, but there might be cases on certain. Well, there shouldn't be much of a difference. Should there? This one comes from, it just does, right, wait, inventory, yeah, bigger inventory. This does the literal full path, which is always wild because it's all the way over here. You could shorten that maybe, but I guess a full path isn't going to do any harm, and it probably minimizes the chance that you're going to run into like weird folders being different for some reason. And that one you're doing a start at. I do need to take this one here. Okay. This is something we want to actually add into the PR here, so we'll go ahead and add that in from here because it's already here. I think that's only one too, so we'll go ahead and just do that. This is 87, right? Let's do 87. Fix typo. And when I rebase this, I will probably end up just squashing that away anyway. But just so that it's in there, I don't have to do it manually. Thank you. All right, and then so that's good. And then there's right, open issues with the environment, right? And that is one we will need to fix eventually, but it can be painful, so don't know on that one yet. We'll deal with that when we get to it. But yeah, so that's good. This PR is pretty solid. There's not a whole lot to really say about it, honestly. It's very straightforward. It's not touching any critical code, so it's not a huge like concern like if we break something. But yeah, so that's good. Let me go ahead and pull it down then. Did the GH thing install? I think it did. So let me make sure. Darn, I have to restart my VS Code. Well, fine. We'll go ahead and restart VS Code then. Apparently I forgot to pin it. That's fun. Come on, code, wake up. All right. So there we go, reloading stuff. And that's just because I installed a new command line tool and it wasn't on the path before. And usually just, I shouldn't have to restart my VM. Usually it'll just be, you gotta reload your shells and things. So is GH here now? Good. Okay, so we got GH. So, nope, not that. I need to grab the thing Cory mentioned, which was code. Copy that. We're going to check that out. All right. So we're going to go to that branch now and get his stuff. Oh, I have to do a login, right? There you go. So GitHub auth login. It has its own login flow. Just github.com. Yep. Sure. Yep. Login with a web browser, please. Copy your one-time code and then press enter. Okay, so copy. And we're gonna log in here. Okay. Uh-huh. Cool, authorize that. Oh, and then I have to actually do this as well. What is this, 4-step authentication? Come on.
Four steps with multiple factors.
Dear me. That feels like a bit excessive, but that's fine. Like I was already logged in on GitHub anyway, and then it was like you have to reconfirm.
But because you're making again. Like, I don't know, some security.
Something. There's a reason, I'm sure. It just seems silly to me. That's okay. All right, so there we are. Now we can go ahead and I've gone and copied that over my thing that I was gonna paste in before. Where is it? This. Give me this. Copy that. Lovely. All right, paste that in here, and we should just be able to get. Is that the right PR? This one. This is the base repository issues. All right, gotcha. Okay, so there we go. So this is now the current point here. So there's a couple of difficulties with this. One is this. This is really, really, really old in comparison to some of the code here, I think. And I think Cory or PR merged before this, so we're gonna have to rebase against.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, hold on. I think I have to fix a thing real quick because.
Wait, right? Oh,
yeah, I thought so. How do I do that?
Did they?
I need to set up a git config slightly.
Are they working off of their master branch?
I don't think they'll work if they master. Oh, actually they are. But
also, why is it grayed out on the?
Oh, never mind. That was.
Does that mean
I opened the wrong tab. There you go. I was like, something's wrong here, and I wasn't sure what. Where was it?
This the grayed out, I think, usually means that they've deleted their branch.
Yeah. Okay. This is the one I meant to go to. I went to the wrong one, unfortunately. There you go.
Okay.
Okay. So now we got the right one.
I was gonna say working off of their master branch is gonna. It's gonna
cause some issues. Yeah, exactly.
Because
and hopefully it would let me force push it.
You have to force push. You can't even force push with lease because of the.
Yeah.
Because technically it doesn't exist or something.
I forget how to do this, honestly, because I don't have to do it very often, but let me just do this real quick. Because I don't like trying to do rebases in like the nano editor or whatever. Perfect. Give me that. That's all I need. Lovely. So if I do this, that should do it. So then if I do git config global edit, it should just be like, here you go. Oh, it opens up a
because you gave it -- new window.
Oh, I did. I didn't realize I did that.
Oh, well, you could have edited it there.
Touche. I didn't though. But does that work now? Sure. Okay, good. So we're good. Lovely. And then I just need to do git. And the reason I did that is because I'm about to do an interactive rebase. For, let's see, not origin, but upstream master. So upstream is the Chocolatey repo, not my own fork. And master is the branch I'm rebasing against. And this gives me a nice little list of. Wait, what? Why is this? I just realized it's doing weird stuff to hide things. Come here. No? Come here. Thank you. Thank you. That's what I wanted. No. Just there's not much in chat, but just in case. So so back on track. Doing a rebase. If I try to do a rebase, the default editor for Git, because this is a pretty empty VM, is the nano thing. You do it in the command line, and it's kind of a pain to use, so I prefer to do it here so I can look through. So basically what we want to do is we want to essentially Clarify problem. I'm going to just squash this into the previous one because it sounds like it's also dealing with the README. In fact, all of these four sound like they are doing it with the README, so I'm just going to squash into one of those. Actually, this is the start-out example, isn't it? The start-out example is the one that change went into, wasn't it? I think. Let me see.
What?
This one, right? Where that comment was made, that suggestion. Was that the start-at? It was the start-at. So honestly, this is probably best to squash into that specific one there rather than at the end.
You're looking to squash or fix up?
Oh, good point. Yeah, just fix up is better because I don't need to keep the comment message. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all we're doing. So literally, I'm not going to mess with many of his other comments here. I think we're just going to leave them as is. That's fine. But I want to squash them to there just so we don't have the extra comment on the end. It's not necessary. It's just a typo. So we'll fix up that in there. Close that file till I get to that. Now it says it's all done. The only thing I wanted to look at was the other comment we had about the, where are we? Not in here. In here, I think it is, isn't it? Yeah, local testing, there's the vagrant file. Let's look at, so we're doing a bunch of 2204 here. What's the Windows VM doing here? Are we using, yeah, we're using this one. I'm not sure on that one. That's the bit I'm like, I don't know if we want to use this specific one.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm really worried about in this PR. Everything else seems fine. This specific Windows box is probably not a good idea if it comes with Chocolatey pre-installed. So I'm going to quickly just look on Vagrant Cloud. I forget what it is. It's
vagrantup.com.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah. App.vagrantup.com. I think it's the. Oh yeah, because so if you go to if you go back to to
just that. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I want to look at this. What do you have on here? So this in the box. Does it say what's actually installed?
Oh, you might have to hit the alias of part in the box. This version is an alias of. Basically has version Windows-server, which is always the latest.
For both of them. Okay. And so it's like a meta package, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. It does include Chocolatey, so we probably shouldn't use this one.
Yeah. The trouble is as the comment.
Yeah, you don't want Windows Update enabled on it. That's the thing.
You could search for the Stefan ones. The other thing was that the Stefan one that we were using is Windows 10.
Yes. And he upgraded to like Windows 11, I think, or
Windows,
whatever that is.
Windows Server, which is Windows 2022.
Were we previously doing a Windows client machine, not a Windows Server? Is that right?
Well, like the host name is Windows Client, but then the question is like, is it Win Client because it's supposed to be a client OS, or is it Win Client because it is an Ansible client running on Windows?
I mean, either is fine ultimately. I don't think it matters over much. It's just kind of like a almost convention at that point. It doesn't strictly matter for Ansible, I don't think, if it's a Windows server or Windows client. So I think we do take the Windows Server and not the Windows 10.
Windows Server should definitely be less aggressive with Windows updates too.
Exactly, right. So it's gonna not do it like within the first 5 minutes. We don't need containers or Docker realistically. There's a 2019. Is that all he has? That was a year ago. Is there a newer? Let's just look at stuff and share stuff. There's a Windows 22 to Docker. Oh, there we go. I don't know why that one didn't crop up. So we can use this one instead, I suppose. Yeah. Okay, so I'll go ahead and add this in as a separate comment then, just as a, we're using this one because we don't want to have Chocolatey pre-installed on it, and I don't think there is. Double checking. Can I see?
I think you might have to look at the
Packer template.
Packer template to figure that out.
I don't like that, but fine. I guess we'll just look at the code here. Do we have like a list of what's going to be on here? Where do I even look for that? Honestly,
so
there's so much.
I'm fairly certain it doesn't have it. His Windows 10 ones certainly don't have Chocolatey on them, and that's actually why I use them for my support VMs, so that if I'm in a situation where I need to test installing Chocolatey, I don't have to spin up a Vagrant box and then delete all the Chocolatey installs. And
gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So all right, yeah, that should be fine, because we were using a step and share one before, so it should be similar enough in configuration. Yeah, okay. This one might be something like I'll have to, well, I don't know. But yeah, so I think we want to change that just so we don't have Chocolatey pre-installed. Everything else should be pretty similar. So we're going to, did he have an issue for this one? I think he did. Linux host, this was issue 80, nope. Did he not? There wasn't an issue for this one. Comments. Yeah, there's not really. Okay,
no, there wasn't. At least there wasn't any in the commits.
Yeah, this was more kind of about like stuff he found as he was working on another issue.
Oh, as he was.
This fixes 83. There we go. I'm gonna actually put that in the PR title so I can find it again. 83 fix issues with Linux host and local testing maybe. So PR titles are good. Use them. But you know, maintainers will have their own opinions, and they might decide to edit it because it's not to their standards and whatever. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Just try to make it descriptive, but not.
I mean, part of it will depend on what their plans are for like their release processes and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you
mostly issue titles, a lot of people,
PR titles,
if they pull up PR titles, yeah. I think PowerShell pulls up PR titles actually, which is an interesting take. I don't see too many other people do it, but PowerShell teams seem to. I think
part of it might be because they do a squash.
Probably. But yeah, okay, so that's fine. We're going. So we are issue 83. That's the one I need to worry about. Okay. So issue 83. Actually, that's the thing I should do, isn't it? Well, we'll do it after. So issue 83, we're going to use more bare bones, we'll say, when 2022 vagrant image. Perfect. Avoid using a VM for the client which already has Chocolatey installed. Of course, as we want to be able to test, as we want to test that works basically. Now tests. That seems redundant, so we'll just cut it there. Okay, so that should be fine. We'll commit that. I will also do another rebase actually. Yeah, so I got to do another rebase because I just realized a lot of these need to be reworded so that we include the issue number in them. So that's a thing that a lot of our repos will have. I feel like, please get code. I feel like a lot of Git people that work with Git, a lot of developers will generally follow some level of you should, you know, make sure that you're referencing issues you're working on or something. But Git is a tool that kind of works however you want it to in a lot of ways. So people will have the different standards to kind of go along with what's in the repo. So we're going to reword all of these except for the last one, which already has the issue number in that. So we're just going to go ahead and do that. And it will then prompt us for every single one of these to tell it what we want in the title. So I'm just going to add the 83 reference to all of them. And this is mainly just because we don't really squash PRs in this repo, I don't think, from memory. I don't think we do. And this will ensure that if somebody needs to figure out what the heck this comment was trying to do, it will actually just be an easy reference to what it needs to look at. So there we go. Oh, nope, still more. 83, please. Nope. Nope. Oh, wait. Thank you. Hotkeys. Okay. Probably some of these could be squashed, but given that I didn't work in this PR, I'm not going to do that for him. In some cases you might, but in one case not so much.
Yeah.
So we have done that. Is there, can the GH command line tool push back up?
I don't know that the GH command line can, but I know you can with a git push.
Yeah.
You should just be able to do a git push, but then you
so?
will have to do a -- force.
You think so? Just straight git push it'll work?
Yeah.
Let's find out. Oh. Nice. Good to know. I wasn't sure because VS Code showed this as like not having an upstream branch.
Yeah, and that's the weird part is that I think it doesn't have an upstream, or it doesn't have a remote that is registered as a remote.
It doesn't have. Oh, so
it has an upstream. It has a tracking.
It's got a pusher only remote or something, or like a tracking branch, but
something
not a
like
full remote. Okay. Oh, that's super weird. I
might,
mean, hey, if it works,
go spelunking into the .git folder to find it, or you might just say, "Yeah, it works. I'm good."
Yeah.
Leave it at that. Not that I've ever done that.
Yeah. Okay, so what I will do is, yeah, so that's all done. I'm gonna quickly just give him a quick @ thanks for the contribution here. I've taken the liberty of updating the typo in the README and updating the Vagrant client VM image to one that doesn't have Chocolatey pre-installed for our testing purposes. The rest looks good to me. I'll get this merged. I've also added the 83 issue reference to your commits. Get this merged when CI passes. Not that CI really matters on this because it's not testing anything that runs in CI, it's just the local stuff.
Yeah.
So that's okay. But I'll just let it run to completion. Let's put our contribution. There you go. But yeah, so there we go. So I don't repeat myself as much, but yes, that's good. So this is all basically good to go. And from there, I think it's a good point to pivot on to just kind of a general, like what's nice to see in PRs, what's not so nice to see, and what is likely to actually get stuff merged. So I'll ramble on that for a little minute. There's a couple I want to show you actually as we go. So this one is basically good. We're just going to wait for that to finish up and it should be good to merge now. So that's nice. Yeah, so we're good with that. I'll put that up in our sort of done list. And there's a couple others. That one's done. I haven't got time for that probably. That's okay. We don't need to worry about that or that. Let's see, where were we? This. Trying to see where it was. This was one of Mikhail's previous ones. This is actually a really good PR. Basically, he had a thing that he wanted the Ansible collection to do. It didn't do it. It just did not give this information back in any kind of way. And he went and goes, okay, let me go and add that. That was actually a really great one. So did he file an issue before this? I don't even remember if he filed an issue for this, honestly. Yeah, he fixed it. Yeah, he filed issue 80, which was basically yeah, it literally. So that's the thing you can do. Like obviously, if you're not sure how to fix a thing, but you want it done, filing an issue is great because then it lets them know, hey, there's either a problem or there's something we want the code to be able to do, the package, the collection, the whatever. and then the maintainer can look at that and go, okay, do I have time to do that? Can we, at least give people some direction on how to do it if I don't have time to do it, so that it can be done by somebody at some point. Yeah, but in this case, it was literally he needed a thing, he filed an issue, and then he pretty much right after filed the PR. Now, there's not a lot of detail in this issue, but basically it's to the point. It's, hey, I want to make a list of outdated packages. The module in here that is supposed to be getting me information about Chocolatey is not getting me this information. I want it. I need it for some reason. And literally by the time he'd written the issue, he already wrote the code. He's literally like, hey, I've got this branch here already. And then, like, I don't know, probably 5 minutes later, he went and filed the actual PR. So he knew what he wanted. It was a very easy customer. So essentially, he's got a PR here, which just does that. There's a Win Chocolatey fax module in this collection, which essentially all it does is it runs Choco. It looks through the config. It looks through the features and installed packages, I think, as well. And then it just builds a list of information to give back, so that if you need to do some like sophisticated logic in your Ansible coding, in your particular Ansible playbook, based on what packages are installed, what's not installed, various features are enabled or not enabled, etc. You can do that. You can be like, hey, give me all the information. Okay, let's look through it, find what we need, and then behave appropriately in the playbook, which is really nice. I don't see a lot of cases where it's super useful, but clearly he had one here where he wanted something very specific and it just wasn't available. So he's given like an example playbook here, the example output from running his playbook here, where it just gives you this nice little array of packages that are outdated, and the available versions and the current version that are installed, as well as the package and whether it's pinned and whatnot. So he's been pretty comprehensive. And this PR was very straightforward to review. Actually, it was really great. So I'll go through it real quick. So there's a lot of changes in here, really, but ultimately it was pretty straightforward. So essentially all he needed to do was he added a function to be able to get the outdated packages, which is just copying kind of the existing style of what was here, and then just changing essentially this section where it was, hey, this is the specific Choco command line that we're running. So, run outdated limit output so that we can parse it and process it, and then do a little bit of processing here in PowerShell to get the specific data that you need out of it and pass that back to Ansible. And that's literally all. It was just, hey, run this, go through our usual parsing, split it on the pipe delimiter that Chocolatey uses when you're doing the limit output, and then get all the bits of information out of it that you want. Yeah, it was very straightforward. It was really great to see. So like literally this is basically, I wouldn't say a carbon copy, but it's very similar to what we do in a lot of other parsing commands here. So that's a great way to get your PR approved. Actually, you can look at how things are already done, and rather than reinventing the wheel, as it were, you can be like, okay, this is how they do it here. Okay, I will do it in a similar way here. Sometimes it's worth like taking that code and like being like, okay, let me like break this out, and like rather than copy it exactly or almost exactly, we can like refactor it to like another function. But in this case, I don't think it's really worth it. Sometimes it is, but in a lot of cases, it's just this little section here and here, and that's all you need, and that's fine. So that's really great. Literally just, yeah, this is very similar. Like if you look at, do we have another one? I don't want to get Chocolatey package because it's a bit finickier. There's another one. Like I think this is very similar to the get Chocolatey feature command we have in here, which just does the same thing except with outdated packages. It does the list of features and settings and things. So that's very straightforward. Then in here we have, yeah, literally just adding in a little extra to the Ansible output here, which is like this thing here. If we thank you. So there's a little result object we have here that gives you a list of Ansible facts from Chocolatey, and just a list of config, features, sources, packages, etc. And then it goes and calls the command to put the data in, and then it just sends it right back. Very straightforward. It was really good. So this just added a whole extra feature. And I think, where are we? He says he also added, I think, some tests. Someone, I'm trying to remember where it is now. So he had to reshuffle some things in the tests to make things work quite right. Let's see. So this, I don't think this is a new test. Oh yeah, So he realized what he was trying to do was very similar to what was done elsewhere, and instead of like rewriting the whole thing, he kind of pulled it out to its own little setup thing that he can just call multiple times. So he fixed up some of our tests along the way, which was really great. And if I look in, I think, yeah, here's the actual outdated tests. He just went right ahead and, took what our existing tests were doing and going, okay, so instead of this time, where we instead want to just go grab the things and make sure the outdated output's in here. And he's even gone to the lengths of, this is what the output looks like in like object form. And then if you actually get this back from Ansible, it looks exactly like this, so that if somebody's trying to debug this later, they can look at this and go, oh, okay, this is what it should look like. This is what's different. And it's really, really great to see that it's just a lot of detail in here. A lot of stuff that's very straightforward. So this one, he did essentially, you're looking for a certain package, you're checking the outdated information here. You're looking to see if this package name is the same as this package we were expecting to be installed, basically, and outdated. So essentially, you're just checking the Choco outdated command gave you the output you wanted, and Ansible was able to get it back. Nice and simple. This syntax is not the best. This is what we're reduced to, I guess, with Ansible test. You have to go through the YAML, but
I noticed line 27 comments that this test is only apparently just to support 2.9.
Yeah. Yep, certain stuff they're only supporting 2.9. Yeah, we need to convert to a list with this list thing or this select thing. Yeah. And so yeah, at some point when we drop 2.9 support, we will take some of this out because we don't need it, thankfully. So yeah, although I think most of this is still needed. I think Ansible 2.9 just needs this last bit. So yeah, we can't take.
I initially read line 27 and thought, oh, we could just take the whole test out, and then
but
then looking back up at line 21, I was like, no, it's actually just it's just a little list that we can take out.
List thing. I don't even know what that does. Turns it into an array, I suppose. Prevent some kind of error. Generator objects like yeah, that's a really vague error. Look at that. that is a textbook. Please don't give me this kind of error. This is a very, very nondescript error. That would be painful, and props to him for figuring out what the heck was going on there, because that would have taken me a while, I'm sure.
I'm split on error messages like that, because sometimes it's great to just say, like, search the code base for 0x7fda04EAEIO.
Yeah.
Wait, that's not what that says. But like, to search for something like that in the code base, it occurs exactly one time. You know exactly where that error was generated from.
True, maybe, but also that could just be an arbitrary memory address. We don't know.
Well, and that's the thing, is looking at that generator object selector of reject and yeah, that is probably a memory address. So then you're looking for, okay, selector reject. I bet you that occurs multiple times. So
yeah, I'm genuinely kind of impressed that he managed to figure that on his own, because he didn't even ask for help with that. He was just like, oh, I got this weird error. Presumably Googled it and found some like weird esoteric blog post about it. And I was like, good on you, dude. That's incredible. Good job. Yeah, but yeah, so essentially get the information back, assert that it is what it is expected to be, to make sure that the module is actually getting the information back from Chocolatey properly, which is good. So that all came back nice and clean. So yeah, we added some new tests from it. We cleaned up some of our existing tests from it. This kind of went above and beyond for PR, honestly, because like he could have just added the feature, called it a day. I think literally he added the feature. And I was like, great, thanks. We'll have to look at some tests for this, because we don't want to throw it in without making sure it works. He'd done some manual testing, but I don't think he'd done automatic tests. Yeah, and like a week later, basically less than a week later, he got the test framework working, because the other PR we were looking at, he had some issues, but he really got it working. And then he was able to fix up the tests that were necessary to make it work, which is great. So yeah, and he a little bit of the communication here is great, because he's like, hey, I wanted to do this, but there was a bit of an obstacle here, so I did this instead. And some explanation there is often really good when you're doing stuff that is not necessarily directly related, like all the refactoring of the tests that he did, so that we can understand what you're actually doing. And we don't have to be like, okay, was there like a reason you went and like moved these tests all the way over here for something? And sometimes you can infer that, but it's not always possible. And sometimes you're really going to need to like go a bit of back and forth and reach an understanding on what's actually being done. Because at the end of the day, we have to maintain the code. And if we don't understand what you're doing when you're trying to make changes, we can't maintain that code. There's just going to be a section of code that we don't know what the heck is going on. And that's really, really not good. So communication is a really, really important part here. And it's a two-way street. Some maintainers are not the greatest at communicating. I try to be pretty good. There's definitely times where like I let things slip by a handful of days or whatever if work is busy and I don't have time to come back to this. You know, it's not a current priority, that sort of stuff. But by and large, communication is very, very good, very, very helpful. So yeah, let's see. So, and then, you know, I mentioned like it needed to be added to the module documentation. He went ahead and did that without really questioning. So yeah, this all was over and done in like, I think, sorry, like 2 weeks maybe. So it was a pretty quick PR as things go, and that was quite a bit of back and forth. So yeah, props to him. He handled it really well, and it was very, very good to see. So that's one of them. I would say main takeaways are communication's great. Adding tests was very helpful because some maintainers will differ. Some of them will basically demand you add tests for things that you want to add so they don't have to bother with it. And it's understandable because it is a burden of them to be able to do that. And alrighty. And yeah, so it's good to just have that communication. And, you know, if they ask you to add tests and you're not able to, I mean, it's okay to push back on that. It's not like the end of the world, probably. But just kind of be understanding, because like if you're asking them to then go and, you know, spend like half of their day, a day, multiple days adding tests for things you want added and they don't really see the value in, they're much less likely to really take that change, right? So you're really going to want to make sure that you kind of give the effort you would like to get. Like if you're the maintainer of a thing and someone comes in and adds this whole huge feature that, you know, obviously they know how it works, but the maintainer isn't going to know how it works. So if you're the maintainer and you're trying to review this change, having tests there can really, really help with kind of verifying that, yes, this thing works as they said it does or should. And, you know, you can verify that independently just by running the tests. So it's really, really helpful to have the tests in place. And I mean, he didn't initially, but literally, like, I didn't even really ask him to. I think I just said like, hey, that's great. We'll have to look at adding tests with this before we can merge it. And he's like, oh, no worries. I'll go ahead and do it. And he did. So it was fantastic. Yeah. So if it's not possible, that's not the end of the world for everyone. Some maintainers will literally just hardline, if you can't add tests for this, I'm not going to bother doing it. And there's probably reasons for that. Maybe they had a bad day. Maybe they've just had a, you know, it's a big project and they really don't have time to be able to look at the tests themselves. And that's understandable. Stuff like that does happen. So the more you're able to sort of make it a self-contained thing that they don't have to then spend mental energy worrying about. And like, is this going to break other things? Oh no, this doesn't have tests around it. How do we know it actually is going to continue to work? And it's not going to be like, I change something over here and things break and I don't know because I don't know how this code works that well. And then I do a release and then suddenly I have like hundreds of bug reports, and that's something that people really want to avoid. So that's when people are talking about like maintainability of code, that's kind of what they mean. Like if you don't have things wrapped in tests that can verify that, you know, unrelated changes aren't breaking things for some reason, because that does happen quite a lot, actually. A lot of code is not super well self-contained, and that's sometimes there's good reasons, sometimes there's not. But at the end of the day, it's really good to just make sure that if you're accepting code, you can be sure that it's going to continue to work, and you're not going to have to manually pore over every little piece just to make sure that there's not like this minor mistake. If you have tests in there, the likelihood of that is so much lower. It's really, really good. So that was great. 1 sec. Let's have a look. So that was that one. That was the issue. We don't need that. This one was another good PR. You'll notice he hasn't got the PR template in here. I think this was actually put in before we imported the global issue and PR templates, so I'm going to give a pass for that. But in general, if a project is asking for certain things for PRs, they'll give you a list of like little details that they want. They'll be like, you know, make sure you have an issue open for it so we can track it and things like that. And yeah, so if they're asking for stuff in the PR template, then, you know, give it. And if they have certain rules for comments and things like that, make sure you give it. And usually they'll have contributing documentation or issue and PR templates so that you can kind of get an idea of what they will need to be able to actually review what your code. So this one, there wasn't a whole lot of detail here, but it was a fairly simple, self-contained, straightforward thing. I think he did add tests without even really needing to worry about anything. My apologies. Have a quick look here. So look at the file. So yeah, this was just adding, Chocolatey already has a remove dependencies parameter when you're doing uninstalls. So essentially all this was adding a parameter on the Ansible module side and then feeding that through all of the code so that when you do an uninstall, you can pass this remove dependencies flag when you're running that Chocolatey command as well. So this is adding it to the module spec here that the Ansible reads and looks for what like input values you can set. We set a local variable here. We pass that into our function uninstall Chocolatey package, and then we go ahead and use it essentially. Just add that into our little command, the line that we're building here. And yeah, they get remove dependencies, pass it in, and we're all set. And then there's just a little bit you have to add in here is like if you add a new option to an Ansible module, it has like some weird, like it's Python, but it's in YAML. It's a weird little mix of things that they use for their sort of machine readable documentation that they use to build you know, more human readable documentation. And this is essentially, we've added an option. It's got description, parameter type. It does have a default value and what version the collection was added in. So this is just metadata to kind of indicate to the Ansible package repository, essentially, that what this is. And he's added like a little example here as well, which is nice. So it's very sort of simple to the point. Now, stuff like this is really easy to review because you can kind of see how it all threads through. There's no extraneous changes in here. The other one was a great PR, but there was a bit extra changes in terms of like refactoring some of the tests and things, which can increase the burden of review. Now, the thing with reviewing PRs is, like I mentioned before, if you're accepting code from someone else, you have to kind of be sure it works. And we all have limited time and attention. And if you can like kind of glance through a thing, be like, yeah, that obviously works. It's nice and easy and it's easy to test. That's kind of a slam dunk, very easy thing to accept, unless you have like a real objection to really wanting that code in the thing you're making. There's really not many reasons to sort of reject it. So if you want your PR accepted, it's kind of best to keep it as small as you can. That's not to say don't make big PRs. Sometimes there are things that need a larger PR, but oftentimes for that kind of change, you're going to want to communicate with the maintainer beforehand and like issues and things and figure out like a good way to attack it. And whether like that's even something that they're going to accept before you do all of that work. Because there has been a couple of times I've seen in the past where like somebody does a huge PR, like, you know, dozens of files, thousands of lines, and then they're like, I did all this work, you can accept it. And like the maintainers are like, dude, it's a lot of work. Good on you. But like, there's not enough tests on this thing. This isn't really a feature that we think is relevant for the thing we're building right now. And we don't think we can accept it. And like, obviously that's a lot of work kind of down the drain in a way, unless they want to like make their own fork and maintain that, which most people making like a PR generally don't want to maintain their own forks completely separately. So you kind of want to avoid that situation of like, you've put in all this work and then the maintainer's like, I don't even think this is really relevant for the thing that I'm building. Like you know, obviously you've put all this work in, but it's not something that makes sense for me in this product or, you know, thing that I'm building. So yeah, smaller is better, but like, don't just make it ridiculously small just to try and get it accepted. Like you want to still have the core elements of what you're actually trying to do be part of the PR. And if that ends up being quite a large thing, okay, just make sure you kind of communicate around the project and in the issues and the maintainer, like file the issues, be like, hey, this is a thing I want. This is what I think it would need. And communicate with the maintainer from there as like, you know, this is gonna be a lot of work. Is this okay to add in? Is this okay to be like reviewed? And is this gonna be something you're okay with maintaining in future? Because what you're doing when you're submitting a PR is asking somebody else to maintain your code going forward. It's not just it's added and it's done. it could need to be refactored later. It could need to be changed and updated later as like bugs are found in it and stuff like that. So it's not just a one and done thing. It's this has to continue going into the future kind of deal as well in a lot of cases, unless they're literally abandoning the project, in which case they probably don't care and it wouldn't be useful to you anyway. So yeah. But yeah, that's kind of that rant. Hopefully that made some sense. I don't know how much sense it made to everybody, but yeah, that's about all we have time for today. I was hoping to circle back to some of these PRs. Can I have a quick look, see if any of them are done? Let me see. So this one is right. We removed the usage of new in Win Chocolatey, and all of our tests passed. Let's have a look in there just to see what that's at. So if I look at all of these CI, some of these are just, we are building the collection here. So this makes sure that it actually compiles properly, more or less. And then we have a bunch of tests. So if I look at the details on one of the tests here, you can go in here, and depending on what this is actually running on, in this case, it's Azure Pipelines, and what the actual test framework is, you'll get slightly different like looks here. But in most cases, you better come in here, list of checks, you'll click on one of the errors and warnings link if there's any, or sometimes there's no errors and warnings, but in this case I'll just show you. So you come in here, and this is the actual Azure Pipelines run result. It went through the build, it worked, it went through the test, everything passed. There's a bunch of files that came out, which are the actual output files from Ansible test that we use to, kind of just determine was there any breakages here, and that will come through here. And we can see that there is 1,300 odd tests that passed, nothing failed, nothing was, unexpected or like warnings and things like that. So everything's good. Now this sounds like a big number. It's not that many tests. I'm gonna be honest. There's like 5, I think. Is it 5? There's 7 jobs in here. Are they all? No, they're not. Let me see. So if you look in here, can I expand this out? No, well, let me. Okay. But 2, 9, 2, 10, 11, 12, and later. So there's 5 total runs of tests. So that 1,300 odd number is more like, I don't know, what is it? In this case, that's 1,330 divided by 5. There's actually like less than 300 tests per thing. That's still quite a bit, but yeah. So if you, some projects are huge and you'll see like millions of tests, but usually it's just the same, maybe a couple thousand tests like repeated across every possible configuration. But yeah. So yeah, that's what you'll see. If there were actually test failures, you'd see them down here. In this case, you just get a little trophy because there's no test failures. Hooray! But yeah, so I'll tag probably Josh for review on that one too. Where was it? Oh, I've actually gone on. I gotta go back a few pages now. So that'll get reviewed and eventually merged. And there we go. So that one looks good. The others are probably still running. We're not going to see the results of those today, but that's okay. Thank you all for coming and hanging out. And we will see you guys probably, I think we have another stream next week. I don't think I'll be on that one, but we'll see you guys then. Everyone have a good night. Thank you all for hanging. Bye-bye now.